My name is Laurell K. Hamilton. I am the writer of the Anita Blake series and also of the Meredith Gentry series. I am on tour for Cerulean Sins, which is book 11 of Anita Blake, which is really cool because we're over 10 into a series, and so many series don't get that far. Cerulean Sins is the book where Anita begins to come to terms with what her life really is and not what she just wanted it to be. She's starting to look at her life, and instead of saying, I wish it was this, she's starting to say, well, this isn't so bad. In the midst of tracking one of the most vicious serial killers I've ever written about, and having some of the police begin to suspect that perhaps she's spending too much time with the monsters, and so she's beginning to get not as welcome at some of the crime scenes, but she's now a federal marshal, and she has a federal badge, so they really can't keep her out, which has been very interesting doing the research for that. And Cerulean Sins is a much more, I don't want to say kind book, because it's not really, but at least Anita has some personal time, which is something I've been wanting her to have, because her life isn't going to slow down. So I want her to be able to have both the raising the dead and tracking the killers, and at the same time have some kind of personal life, because this is her life, and welcome to it. I think Richard hit bottom in Cerulean Sins. I think he'll be on the upswing now. We've got some tentative ideas about how to do that. He needs good therapy is what he needs, but I don't see him doing that. So there are other ways to do therapy if you can find the right people to help. Sometimes that old idea of going to your friends is not a bad idea. And Jean-Claude, I don't think he's going to be as much in the shadows, because he was more on stage, and we're going to get more of his background with Asher. In every book, see more of him and more of his actual motives and emotions. I love writing Anita. It's not hard at all to write Anita, especially at the finish of each book. I open the computer file up and do the first chapter of the next book. So that 6 months down the road, or whatever, when I sit down, I'm not going to go, now what was that great idea I had? But Anita's voice, it comes very easily now. Well, for the werewolves, I actually researched real wolf culture. M. Scott Meck, I believe Meck is the last name, and he is the authority for wolf research in this country. He is the one that the biologists that do the wolf stuff recommended to me. Always go to the people who are your experts and ask who they read. So the wolf culture is actually easier than anything else, because you actually go to the real animal. And the same with the leopard culture, except for the fact that the leopards are solitary. Real leopards are solitary. But because they're people, they get some of the same rules to a certain extent, because they're a pack animal. We are a pack animal. Human beings are. So the animals are actually easier. The vampires, I actually researched real European royalty. I went, especially the French court. Why vampires insist on being French, I don't know, but they do. And I researched into that, and may I just say that the real stuff that the French court was doing is so much worse than anything, so much more sensational than what I write about, except for the killing part, that it amazed me to learn what I did, because you get mostly English history for European history in this country. You don't do a lot of other countries. But I looked at the court politics, and I thought, what if you were able to be eternally in charge? I really do believe that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, unless you are an amazingly strong person morally, and most aren't. So I did the research into real history, and then I thought, what if? What if these same people, or people like them, were in charge indefinitely? And then in this book we get to meet somebody who did lay down the rules, and we will get to meet her in a later book, somebody who came up with their culture, actually. Which was very interesting, because I knew she was going to come online, but I didn't realize that this was the person that had come up with a lot of their culture. I had her more as a boogeyman rather than as somebody to really shape them. So she wasn't always this crazy then. Am I uncomfortable with the fact that she now is sexually active with more than one person? Not entirely. Am I embarrassed by it? Not anymore. Am I ashamed of it? Absolutely not. I stand by what I write. Because most of the people that have had problems have said, literally said, if she was a man, they wouldn't be having the problem. That in publishing, I have been told that they're uncomfortable because it's a first-person narrative written by a woman. a woman character written by a woman writer, and it's made them more uncomfortable. And I had some people, not people who are directly in charge of me, say that this had really made them uncomfortable, and they made noises about the fact that, you know, it might do better if I dumbed it down a little, but they weren't directly in charge of me. They're nobody that I have to actually listen to. And I noticed the books got more sex in them after that, because people really should stop telling me don't. Don't tell me don't do something. I'm much more likely to do it. I try to fight against this character trait, but Anita and I share this character trait. If you tell us not to, if you tell us we can't, especially if you tell us we can't because we're a woman, ooh, oh no. We so have to do it, have to push the boundaries. Somebody called the series an R-rated Buffy, and I said, R-rated? You haven't kept up. This book actually is turning out to be more about Nathaniel. We're going to get Nathaniel's backstory, which we haven't gotten. I think I know what it is, but I've found that just sentences before I write it down, I'm usually wrong. But we're also going to get to see, no, that's a spoiler. We're going to get to see more of the minor major characters that we didn't get to see in the last book on stage. Larry's going to have a big part, and he hasn't gotten to be much on stage for a while. And we know that Olaf is coming back to town. Actually, Olaf is coming to St. Louis, which he's not been. Olaf and Edward's going to be coming to town because Olaf's coming to town. And so it's going to be kind of like a mercenary serial killer reunion kind of thing, except it's going to be in Anita's town where she feels she has to protect everybody. Hi, I'm Laurell K. Hamilton. If you have any questions about what you've seen here today or other questions, you can go to my website at www.laurellkhamilton.org. Thanks.